Well, it looks like Project Stargate is coming to fruition. 10 gigawatts of power, $500 billion, and 5 new data center sites. We'll talk about it. Feel like it's a Manhattan project done by a single company. Sounds like soon we're all going to be put in the tough position of deciding whether or not we as humans want to post to X or just let AI do it for us. And of course, if AI is growing our follower count, expanding our reach, and making us more money, it's gonna be something worth thinking about. Have you seen AGI bots stand up from the sitting position? Isn't that the most human twist over, turnover stand up of any robot you've seen so far? I'll be giving pretty much an official apology for the 3i Atlas stuff that I talked about a few videos ago. Feedback from the comments got me to dig deeper, and yeah, I significantly overestimated the chances that this could be alien. There's some new AI virus engineering going on that's bringing us closer to AI-generated life forms. Now, I know you can only handle so many shocking AI announcements at once, but there is a huge ice cream company using AI to reformulate its flavors. We'll have to dive in. Microsoft was using artificial intelligence to think about new ways to cool chips. AI came up with something that looks super organic, this leaf-like, kind of vein-like structure that's more efficient than anything else, and that is crazy. DeepMind is expanding its frontier safety framework with new AI risk domains, so stay tuned to find out what the new risks are. Wall Street Journal's covering new AI-powered drone swarms and how they are changing the battlefield in Ukraine. And yeah, you read that subtext right. Decisions independent of their operator. Ishk. Rowan Pierce dared me to question the 17 best nonfiction books of all time. Also, I'll follow that up with some quick thoughts on Audible's new AI, asking questions with an LLM that's attached to a book. And then, just for funsies, we'll kind of go down the alien route again and talk about a man who pointed a laser at a wall and saw the code of reality. Oh yeah, and to see it, you also have to be on what they quote in the article as a lungful of DMT. But first, my channel is finally starting to grow again, and I 100% credit the hype button. If you are on YouTube and you can press that hype button, it means more than a comment, more than a like, more than even a Patreon donation. Just hype the video. You can't see it on all desktops. In some cases, some people have seen it on desktop, but it's much easier to find on mobile. Go to the comments, swipe to the right. It has to be a video on a channel that's small, which mine is, and it has to be in the first 3 days of posting the videos, which this probably is if you're watching it. And it has to be a long form video, which it is. And you only have 3 that you can use each week. So you have to have one of your 3 left. So it definitely helps channels like mine when you hype it. This is the new way for small channels to get discovered on YouTube, and it's actually making a little bit of a difference. I'm getting more views than usual. So please hype the video. Now let's go back to all this crazy AI news that is happening, starting with the Sam Altman, the OpenAI, and the gigantic Stargate project. All right, so if you're living in Texas, New Mexico, Ohio, or some other parts in the Midwest, get ready for a lot of new buildings. OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank, who have almost unlimited money, have just announced that those are the 5 new locations for the Stargate data center sites. So this is a massive AI infrastructure project. It's almost comparable to the Manhattan Project on its own. And we're not even talking about serious government money yet. And these sites are 7 to 10 gigawatts worth of power consumption. That's $400 billion invested already in motion. And the goal is to hit 500 billion and 10 gigawatts by the end of this year, 2025. Surprisingly, at least according to this OpenAI announcement, and of course they're interested in saying good headlines, they're way ahead of schedule. Along the way, the expansion is set to create 25,000 jobs, tens of thousands more across the country, making high-performance compute more accessible for AI research and deployment. So that means what Altman, Ellison, and SoftBank are doing is a project that's going to consume as much power as 9 million homes at once, or about all the households in a state the size of New York. You could also run 1 billion light bulbs, 10 million microwaves, 900,000 cars charging simultaneously. So that's 10 gigawatts of power that could be supplied at any given moment to keep this thing up and running. So in theory, if it's at full capacity, it can just churn at that power level all day long. Next, let's talk about some changes that are coming to X. The formerly known Twitter is now going to have some AI upgrades for content creation. What are your thoughts on that? Would you like a button so that you could automate automatically your posts? Do you want AI to learn about you and maybe just monitor you in different ways and see what you care about and then just drop posts, make comments, handle your timeline for you? Because that's a job a lot of people are outsourcing, especially the bigger content creators. Or does that literally change the whole idea of an online town square and it just becomes pointless? But Elon Musk has confirmed that X will switch to a fully AI-driven timeline by the end of 2025. It can be powered by Grok. The goal is to create a more personal feed, cutting out the random viral content that you don't want to see. Musk also said that the algorithm will be open sourced every 2 weeks, giving users and developers transparency into how content is being curated. And by November or December, users should be able to adjust their feeds dynamically just by talking to Grok. So if I'm understanding this right, the vision is you just talk to your feed and say, hey, can you make me smarter? And it should change the algorithm for you. You could say, I don't want to see more of this, or I do want to see more of that, or what's happening with dinosaurs on X right now. And it could just do something like an automatic search, feed curation, content creation for you. There's already AI-powered community notes, which in itself is sort of strange. So you're sort of asking the AI to police the people and what they see, which is kind of like the algorithm controlling what people see or silencing some things the algorithm wants silenced. This is a first-of-a-kind shift in how social media timelines are controlled. The advertising is being AI updated. The content creation is going to be coming next. In the long run, I just don't see much of a space for a human. Yeah, maybe there'll be a novelty in people who want to seek out other people, but the dominant way this is all going to go is probably AI. So what do you think? Is it coming too quick? Are you guys ready for AI to start controlling your feeds on an even greater level? Let me know in the comments. All right, so this was posted in late August, but somehow I missed it, and it's just amazing to me. I mean, I've seen a lot of humanoid robots. I've seen them dancing and flipping and spinning and kicking. So you wouldn't think this would be the most amazing thing, but the way that this robot can get up by twisting their torso just kind of is incredible. This move in particular just caught my eye as being more organic than a lot of other ways. It just stood up, I think, the way I would stand up. I kind of like swing my leg over and I put my hand down, and there's that funky thing with the hips where I'm like trying to get my balance. And it just felt very human. And to think that this exists and it can get up that way just means, yeah, it's gonna look and move much more human than I expect very soon in the robotics, the humanoid robotics, the bipedal robotics. It's just happening. All right, here comes the apologies. So I got this 3i Atlas kind of feed that was coming through Medium. Somebody who knows what they're talking about, an author, Don Trey, did some interesting, or had some interesting thoughts about what the odds might be of this thing that's probably a comet being kind of unnatural in the way it's moving and potentially, hinting at something more alien. A bunch of people in the comment sections were just like, Dylan, I like Dylan Curious as a YouTuber, but I expect a higher bar and not like pushing some stuff that's like conspiracy. Let me show you what I found. So in this article, using a Bayesian framework, this person who seemed like more of an expert than me put it approximately at 9%, and then with some new information, moved it up to 45%. Just because claiming something is alien, I knocked it down a lot, and I was like, I don't know, but even if it's 1 or 2%, but even 1 or 2% is like ridiculous. It's astronomically low. Here's GPT-5's research analysis. The orbit nearly aligns with elliptical trajectories, even if it's not normal, but it's still in the sense that it's obviously not powered by an alien. Brightness versus expected size. Some argue that brightness or observed light implies smaller than expected object. Claims of abnormal acceleration. Some speculate, not widely accepted, that it's not moving correctly, but we don't have great evidence on that. And there's no clear detection of artificial structure or propulsion. Models of natural comets can explain what we observe with the CO2. NASA's publicly responded that there's no indication it's an alien spacecraft. And the probability that 3I Atlas is a natural comet, natural interstellar object, is extremely high, greater than 99.9%. So don't hold your breath. AI designed viruses mark a step towards AI generated life. Let's dive into this. Scientists have used AI to design viruses for the very first time. Specifically, they've created a bacteriophage that can target and kill harmful bacteria. So this includes antibiotic resistance strains of E. coli. That's pretty wild. AI generated viral genomes, 16 successfully infected bacteria, marking a breakthrough in synthetic biology. So I should note that the work isn't peer-reviewed yet, but it hints at a future of medical applications like new infection therapies and even more provocative possibilities of, wait for it, AI-generated life. Yeah, not kidding. The authors are actually, these researchers are pointing towards this being a step towards their final plan, which is creating entirely new forms of life with artificial intelligence. Not just tweaking existing organisms, like an AI that can just produce what do you want? You name the animal, you tell it that it looks a little bit like a frog, a little bit like a bird, a little bit like a mosquito, whatever you want. Just glue it together, invent some new things that you don't see in the biological world, and go make a new organism. That's crazy. That's crazy, beyond crazy. I don't even know what to think about that. But yeah, that shift from using AI as a design tool to potentially becoming a creator of life itself could redefine biology, medicine, even our understanding of what it means to be alive. So to pile onto that amazing news, the big ice cream company, which owns Ben & Jerry's, is teaming up with this company called Not Co., and it is an AI startup that is developing new ice cream flavors for them. Yeah. Why? What is going on here? This tech is going to help the company Magnum, that's the parent company of Ben & Jerry's, cut out calories, create plant-based offerings, and tackle rising commodity costs. It is going to make ice cream cheaper, tastier, healthier, all in one. Now, I don't know what kind of ice cream flavors it can make or how healthy it can make them, but the idea that AI will someday make ice cream, like tasty desserts, candy, cakes that are healthy, that seems like something the Jetsons would have done, right? Like, oh, I'll just take that cookie over there. Wow, that's the most healthy thing I could ever imagine eating, and I feel great. Yeah, that's AI, I guess, eventually, and somebody's got to eventually pave the way there. So yeah, it's also going to be used to find viral new flavors. But you know, if they use it right, replacing synthetic dyes, making ingredients that come from sustainable sources, I mean, AI could quietly become a behind the scenes flavor trendsetter, health conscious reformulation tool. We'll have to see. Notco is a company I've never heard of before, but I'll keep them on my radar. Maybe that is something that in the long run makes a difference. I'll have to see what they do. All right, so let's talk about Microsoft's new microfluidics cooling breakthrough. So this is an AI-powered inventor, creator, optimizer that thought about how do you cool a chip in the most optimal way. And it came up with something that seems like it's very much inspired by biology. It does not look like the super organized grid system that I'm so used to with microchips. So I never thought much about this, but at the tiniest scale, you have all of this heat coming off the transistor because of the extreme heat that happens at these tiny little peak moments. So there's more of an optimization problem here than I ever realized before. So Microsoft used AI for this microfluidics cooling, and instead of attaching a cooling plate above the chip, this method etches microscopic liquid channels directly inside of the processor, so coolant flows closer to the source of heat, making the system more effective at keeping chips stable under heavy loads. But the wild thing is, doesn't that look like a leaf or something you'd see in some biological setting? And they say, inspired by nature's design, the new approach mimics leaf veins. AI algorithms guide liquid precisely to the chip's hottest zones, distribute coolant where it's needed the most, and the result is Microsoft can safely overclock chips. Still, fascinating work, and AI helped design this. All right, so Google's DeepMind is giving us more precise things to worry about, I guess would be a good way to put it. So DeepMind just dropped the third version of its Frontier Safety Framework. And this is all about making sure that advanced AI does not spin out of control. The update adds a new risk category. You ready for it? That category is, quote, harmful manipulation. So meaning AI systems that could sway people's belief and behaviors on a large scale, manipulate masses of people or individuals or any scale in between. And that expands safeguards against misalignment. So some of the other ways things can be misaligned that the model already talks about is resisting shutdown, turbocharging dangerous research. And now we've got this harmful manipulation category added. Some other changes to the document. They sharpened their risk assessment process, requiring formal safety case reviews before deploying models at certain thresholds. And overall, it's research that's meant to make AI governance as central and benchmarked as possible. So yeah, essentially DeepMind is drawing a red circle on the document around AI's power to influence human psychology and decision making, and it wasn't there before. All right, AI-powered drone swarms have now entered combat. This makes it the first known military case. These swarms that have been used recently, sometimes just a few, sometimes more, they communicate amongst themselves. They share data mid-mission, and they decide which one should strike, reducing the workload and personnel needed to run coordinated drone attacks. Drones are using software from this Ukrainian firm. It's called Swarmer. It gives them autonomy with an attack. Seems like kind of a no-no zone for me personally, but also I understand military is serious business. It's about adaptation, right? So if one of the drones, they're going in for a coordinated attack, one of them has a battery, falls out of the sky, gets shot down, whatever it is, they reswarm, they reorganize the way a school of fish might in the ocean. That's a turning point in modern warfare tactics. I'm sure it will be like a massive part about militaries of the future. It also comes with big ethical questions about how much decision making we should let the machines handle. Let me know in the comments below. Were you concerned with this? It's been used more than 100 times so far in live Warzone, so it's been out there quite a bit, more than I expected already. All right, let's check out Rowan Pierce's 17 best nonfiction books of all time. I love nonfiction. Occasionally, do I really read fiction books? I mean, sometimes it can be pretty fun, especially in the sci-fi genre. He says, number one, Val Harari's Sapiens, definitely in the mix. I read this and thought it was one of the most amazing books ever. Warmth of Other Suns, Epic Story of America's Great Migration. Have not read it. But given some history into how the United States came to be, I think would be pretty fascinating. Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow is just such a foundation of everything that I think about now. With that hierarchical thinking models, with AI, with the way my own human brain works, the elephant and the rider metaphor, system one, system two. I mean, so many other things that I read reference this work. So Thinking Fast and Slow feels like a must read if you haven't ever had a chance to get to it. It's just, you got to embed it deep in your whole concept of how people think. The classic that launched the environmental movement sounds interesting. Silent Spring, Rachel Carlson. Have not read it myself. I'll respect it. Now, I don't want to spoil everything in here because then you won't have a reason to go read the original, but Jared Diamond's Gun, Germs, and Steel, so interesting. The book that I hadn't read that seemed most exciting to me and I really think I might actually read now is called The Sixth Extinction, Elizabeth Kolbert. He describes it as reading this book as like going to a party where the house is on fire, but everybody's too polite to mention it to you, so you just keep making small talk while smoke fills your lungs. Ooh, the structure of scientific revolutions looks pretty good too. Kitchen Confidential, Anthony Bourdain, nah, not my style. I mean, if Dr. Greger writes a health book and I can kind of get into food and vegetables and like the story of the meat companies and stuff. But no, I can't. I don't think I just want to hear a biography about a cook. I mean, I don't get me wrong. A lot of people love him. I think he taught a lot of people a lot of great stuff. So I'm not hating. It just not doesn't pique my interest personally. But you know what does? This book, Max Bennett. I enjoyed a condensed walk through everything that happened to create intelligence, human intelligence, referencing AI many times along the way about what problems we had and how they compared to all sorts of history in evolution, how nematodes and the Cambrian explosion and branches of intelligence like all fit together and bring us to this moment. It was truly one of the best books, like truly one of the best books. And it's one of those books that I'm just going to need to read every year. If I could just contain that in my head, it would give me so many tools when I'm talking on podcasts, when I'm learning about AI, when I'm reading things. As somebody who's going to try to stay on top of an ever-changing world day by day, going through an exponential change, having a base like this, it's worth its weight in gold. All right, when I say read a bunch of books, I really mean I listen. Audible is my number one favorite tool. In fact, I'm trying to get away from short form and just do Audible long form. I find this pretty interesting. So it lets a listener pause an audiobook midway through, ask for context, summaries, clarification. In theory, if I could say a couple things like, why doesn't this make sense? What chapter do I need to go back to? Summarize this chapter. Tell me if you think I'm going to like this. What's this character's name? What's this word mean? What are some other parts other people have bookmarked? I would sort of love that. So I didn't expect Audible to drop a tool like this. It could be cool. I do think that it changes the way authors intend books to be. And that's not great. Authors spend their lives putting together these books. And in cases of some of these research books, it's like their life's work. They've thought about every paragraph. They put the whole thing together. That's why it's sometimes better in long form than a podcast or better than a movie. It's just about the thought another human put into figuring out what it is that you need to know that they have learned. So they're not messing with authors yet that are current and can sue them. They're just doing it with open source or copyright free materials. If you end up getting any of those books, this is kind of the direction that long form audio is going with Audible. And we'll end it with Adrian Adams' article on Medium about the man who pointed a laser at a wall and saw the code of reality underneath. What happens when everyday reality lets you peek at its source code? All right, so here's the deal. This article comes with a disclaimer. This post contains references to DMT. The author says, don't do DMT. You will not have a good time. So that's not what I'm trying to push here. And if we can simulate certain things to an extent, we can almost assume that there's an architecture there where something like an LLM could be embedded in each of the characters and they might visually see something that feels like 3 dimensions to them, even though we know it's just running on a GPU. So it doesn't seem totally impossible that what we think is real, all that stuff. But there's this guy, Danny Goler. He is known as Dan Go Thoughts on social media. He says all it takes is a cheap red laser pointer, a blank wall, and a lung full of DMT to actually see the code in the reality around us. So he swears that when light scatters just right, the wall blooms with characters and numbers, a hidden language running under the surface of reality. In his words, it's like watching the source code bleed through. Okay, so not saying I believe this is the real code to the universe or anything. Let's just play with the idea. Okay, you take DMT, you look at this diffraction, you have a laser. He's saying that this kind of experience isn't necessarily unique. Mystics have talked about it for centuries. Some physicists play with the idea of the universe as an information system, qubits, quantum fields, all dancing in a silent binary drum. Okay, yeah, there's rhythms maybe. Pilot wave theory could have hidden variables behind the scenes. And what Danny describes sounds like both a hidden architecture that looks like light itself, remembering how to be matter. But here's the problem with seeing the code. Once you've glimpsed it, how do you go back to ignoring it? Danny said it changed the way he thinks. Coffee no longer tastes like coffee. It tastes like temporary illusion compiled into a liquid form. What kind of taste is that? You're telling me your coffee tastes like temporary illusion compiled into liquid form? That's a fun sentence, though. But it's not a taste. Traffic lights feel less like order and more like lines of permission in a program. Even arguments with his friends feel like bugs in the social software. You know, I could identify with a lot of those feelings actually, but they're just descriptors. It's funny until it isn't, because once you start noticing this seems in reality, you lose the luxury of full denial. Danny says things get weird. Can our brains, as it says here, spontaneously glitch into showing us patterns that they're not supposed to? Maybe, but is this evidence of it? Danny doesn't care what people call it. His point is simple. He saw the code, and if reality really is running on code, then somebody or something wrote it. This commenter says that reality is the code. It doesn't just run on code, it just is. Nobody wrote anything until people wanted to exploit other people who are always trying to avoid responsibility. Wait, where'd that come from? Printing things on paper turned into just printing money? 22 people clapped that. When I was on a treat using ayahuasca, I also saw the most incredible numbers and formulas. It's still so vivid in my mind I can touch it, but it feels more like more than just numbers. It's almost as if it had a personality or a presence. It's like teaching, hard to explain, and it was not static, but almost alive and moving. Sounds stupid to try to describe something alive in these words. All right, so I had to come check out this video. This is his YouTube channel. Actually, I don't even know. Should I be covering this? Like, is this just somebody crazy looking at lasers on drugs? Or is this like thinking outside the box and it's revealing something about the world? And why would I just dismiss it if I haven't done it and try it? But then it's so unlikely because science is science. You know,
psychedelic altered states, but
look, okay, here's the lesson. Instead of talking about whether you can see code or not, it's going to be hard in the future to recognize the truth. And if you don't see it with your own eyes, can you believe it? Because it's going to become so fake. You see VO3 and Kling and all these AI tools. You know, let me know if you think maybe there's something here that I should dive into and I should listen to his podcast and research it. I will, but I'm going to trust you. If you think this guy's crazy and it doesn't make sense, then I don't want to do another alien thing.
and you smoke DMT, you will see code running in surfaces. Yes, like in the Matrix.
You know, if you could just project it and see it without smoking DMT, I just think that would be kind of a different, that would be a different thing. Thanks for watching. We will catch you guys in the next video. Oh, and don't forget to hype it. If you've come this far, hype the video, please. It's on mobile, your iPhone, your Android. Swipe over from the comments and see if it shows up. That really helps the channel grow. And, we're just figuring this all out together. I'm so open to listening to the community. I'm sorry when I make mistakes, but it's an adventure that we're on together. Hype that video and we'll just keep on plugging on. See you in the next one.